to Louisville, everybody. I work for Humana, which is headquartered here. So welcome to my great city, and hopefully you all enjoy your time here over the next few days. I'm going to talk a little bit about the approach to work and departure a bit from all the healthcare conversations. It's been an exciting time, I think, for all of us in corporate real estate. And I think the most unique part of that is that we have had an opportunity to do it together. So, I've been in this industry now, specific to corporate real estate, since 2013. And what's been so interesting for me is that you talk to peers, and previously we were kind of all on different tracks. So people were experimenting with shared workstations, they had conversations about open office, and we were all kind of in different places at different times. I think what was unique about COVID is all of a sudden this pandemic hit, everybody went home, and all of corporate real estate said, uh-oh, now what do we do? And so it's been fun to talk to people who at the same time are dealing with the challenges all at the same time. So that's been interesting. So I'll just touch on our real estate quickly. And I'm gonna be focused today on our corporate administrative spaces. But you can see here that we're about at 5 million square feet for the size of our footprint for those admin spaces. It's also our call center. Our clinic space is a thing that's growing the most right now. It's where we see the most of our mergers and acquisitions. It's where we're investing a lot of our capital. But we also have other spaces, which consumer would include kind of our what we call retail. So it's sales offices, community centers. Other would be our pharmacy distribution, our data centers, and then production, which sort of speaks for itself. But it's unique, I think, in terms of the diversity of our portfolio. I'll also say that our business is still very much insurance, although we're moving into clinics. As you can tell, we have 488. But we're primarily Medicare and Medicaid. So we are chasing the retirees. So our portfolio, our real estate portfolio, definitely reflects that. So what's important here is that 5 million square feet, because this is before any modifications that we're going to see over the next few years as it relates to right-sizing our portfolio. So first I'm going to talk about our work styles, because this is really where you get to the numbers of what are we doing over the next few years, because we need to provide the right kind of space for the quantity of people who are coming to our offices. So if anybody else is looking at their corporate real estate portfolio as it relates to admin space, these numbers probably don't look different. We would have, before COVID, been flip-flopped on all of this. Most of these people would have been coming into the office, and we would have had a smaller group of people home. We had already been tiptoeing slowly into this world of hybrid work, but it was a small percentage of people. Now we have 5 groups, but I would say primarily we're focused on 4 clusters of work styles: home, hybrid office, and office. And for me, from a design perspective, I would say hybrid home and hybrid office they're hybrid workers, right? They're coming in some period of time. But it was important for us to delineate, because we are working and still thinking through assignments and work points and all the fun things that everybody else is thinking about. Max capacity, if everybody comes in on Tuesday and Wednesday, how do we manage that? And then our field associates, so we are growing our home health division. We would consider the folks that are in home health who are going to people's homes field. So, but as it relates to planning, from a planning purpose perspective, we're really focused on that office number and the hybrid folks, and how are we going to be thinking about them returning to the office and what that looks like. So we formally reopened our offices in early March, and so we're still bringing in a lot of data as it relates to who's coming in and why are they coming in. And if you think about work styles, what we've found, it's now, mid-June, most people are not yet working to the work style that they were assigned to. And so we're still trying to be very patient and encourage people to return to the office in a thoughtful way. But if you thought you might be hybrid office, in the hopes that you're going to eventually return to hybrid office. But there will be a moment where we have to reconcile and say, X percentage people thought they were going to fall into one of these categories. They're not right now, and so we're going to have to reassign them. So we will see where that journey takes us over the next few months. I'll say one other thing, which is that I think Humana has been really patient. I think they've been slow. I think they've been intentionally listening to our associates to figure out what it is they want. And across the board, people want to be home, and they want to have the flexibility they had during COVID. And Humana has done everything they can to try and support associates in doing that. Although, like so many other leadership teams, we do want to see people again, and we want to bring people back in, and we value the fact that people come together. So to think about how our models have changed pre-COVID, again, I think we have, people are going hybrid, people are working in teams, and we're focused really on the experience. But I'll expand on some of that, which is that from a team perspective, I think we are anticipating that people are going to return to the office, but they're going to return to the office for strategic meetings. Is that a weekly meeting, a quarterly meeting, a monthly meeting? We are thinking that people are not coming in to focus anymore. If you're going to focus, you're going to stay home. Your home office is our competition right now. So if you're going to spend all day on calls, if you're going to be reading contracts all day, in reality, we don't necessarily want you coming in. We want you to come in to be with your team, to socialize, to have those interactions. And then I would also just say, from an experience-based perspective, we're really focused on building those experiences so that when you do come in, there's that part of hospitality that we're leaning on. So we've been building up our concierge services, and that just means, well, we borrowed it from WeWork, let's be honest. They did it well. They called it a community managers. But there was a time at Humana where you would come into a building and you were met by a security guard. And it was all about just the security of getting into a building. And we're trying to really flip that on its head. So now when you come in, you see a friendly face, that person is helping you over the course of the day, and they're helping all of the teams that sit on a particular floor. So we're really trying to think more about the experience of our associates when they are interacting with our buildings and each other than we were previously. So other things, how does this sort of relay into jumping into floor plans? But I think we worked with Gensler on this, and a few of the things that we were really focused on, and what I think is interesting on this floor plan, assume that nobody's assigned to these desks. I mean, we're assuming no workstations, really. We're saying you're coming in and you're having a team meeting, and then over the course of that day, you're going to spend time and you might have to focus on something for an hour. You may find that you need to pull away and have another sort of team discussion with one or two people. In an ideal situation, we are thinking that we are in a, we don't have to provide assigned seats. And that's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know if we're going to get there, to be honest with you. It is tough when you have 40,000 associates and they all work really differently to be able to provide models for all of them. We're going to have some sort of variation across the country of this model. But what we set out to do over the last sort of 8 to 10 months or so is to think about the future of work for our associates in a pie-in-the-sky idea, and then let's start to drill down and see what's going to work and what's not going to work. So it's much more about the we than it is the I. But again, I think we have found that teamwork is part of that. Before we left for COVID, we started exploring the idea of agile methodologies. So we were pairing teams together from different departments and organizations for periods of time. They were working on initiatives, they were working on projects for 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. And that's going to continue to expand for us. So we had to be able to provide what we're calling team rooms, project rooms. People use the word war rooms. I think they all sort of mean the same thing, which is that you have a space that's dedicated to that initiative for people to come and go, but you are pinning up all over that space and you can leave it for some period of time. That's really different than having like an assigned workstation where your pictures of your families and your kids are put up, because now you're working together as a team. So we're anticipating a lot of that. And then in addition, for the first time, we're thinking about neighborhoods not as like necessarily your team is assigned to this team neighborhood, but neighborhoods in the sense that like there's an active neighborhood and a quiet neighborhood. And the quiet neighborhood is the quiet car. So if anybody lives in the Northeast, it's that quiet train on the Excella that if you start talking on your phone, somebody's going to give you a nasty look, and the next thing you know, you've been kicked out of the train. And we're talking about like carols and higher panels and things that we never used to do in open office because we wanted to be able to see everybody and have a transparency with everybody. But what we've learned over the years is that that just doesn't work for people. And what they've gained at home is the ability to concentrate and be productive because nobody's walking up to them and having a chit chat. So really intentionally creating neighborhoods that are allowing for that quiet. And we're going to have to learn how that works. There's going to have to be some protocols around how to function in that space. And then an active area, which is like probably more an open office that you'd experience today, which is lower panels and flexibility and that sort of thing. We've also been really conscious about what people are going to be comfortable with returning from COVID. Space is a big part of that. Distance between people is a part of that. There was a time where we were putting people in benches and they were just, what were we, 5 feet apart from each other? We're really departing from that. And I think people are, quite frankly, happy to see it. Connected cafe. So essentially having, again, that like welcoming space when you come off the elevator, but a much more robust meeting, casual space for people to have lunch, to have coffee. We do think people may come in, have a meeting, have a cup of coffee, and leave, and that's fine. I don't think we're anticipating that people are coming in from 8 to 5 anymore, especially a place like Louisville, Kentucky, where you can get anywhere in 20 minutes, and I can get to my office in 10. I don't need to come down for a full day. I don't even always bring my computer with me. I'm coming in for a few meetings, and I go back home. And then rest and restore. We are a wellness company. We really, really, really believe that we have to support our associates where they are, and they've been under a tremendous amount of stress over the past 2 years. Full transparency, we're still figuring out what that means. We've never been one to follow trends in the respect of like gaming or the Zappos era where things were like fun and colorful and all those things. It's not who Humana is. But I do think it's important is that we give them a place of respite where they have a place where they can unwind for a minute. This particular project was in Atlanta. We also recently did a planning project for Roslyn. And what we found was that the commute was incredibly stressful. There was a lot of stress from the moment they left their house till they got to the office. And so for us, we were thinking about, well, what does that mean? You need a transition period to get to your desk or your meeting. And it's probably an audio one. We want to bring the noise down because in cities like that, it can be incredibly loud and intense, and there's a lot of stimulation. So the thing that we're trying to think about is how do we remove some of those from people at portions of the floor so they can transition to the work they need to do on the rest of the floor. So I'll share just some projects we just recently completed in time for a reentry here in Louisville. We were so fortunate that we had 2 really massive capital projects underway in downtown Louisville and had a lot of hard conversations over the last 2 years to say, no go. Do we spend the capital? Do we not? We don't know what's going. We don't know and can't expect how people are going to return and if they're going to be comfortable returning. These are owned facilities, and we felt like, you know what? The designs and the focus that we already had on bringing people together socially, bringing them together as teams, was really a continuation of what we were already thinking. And so let's go. Let's keep doing it. And I'm so glad we did, because when we re-entered in March, these new spaces really gave an energy to people that we couldn't have anticipated. And people were so excited. And we had people who were designated work at home came downtown for some of our welcome activities, for our grand opening activities, and were just blown away and ready to come back to the office. It doesn't mean they're coming back 5 days a week, and that's okay. I don't need them to, but I want them to come down when they're ready, and I want them to come down for some of those strategic meetings like we talked about. And so it's been great. So this is our Waterside building. It's a big brick building. I've only got 47 seconds. Our big brick building downtown here. I wish I had put in a before. It was 1987. It was colored lights. You couldn't see a window to save your life, and just clad in like metal, that sort of wiggly metal they used to do in the 80s. So totally transformative. have introduced a cafe space in our headquarters building, also downtown, so that people can interact and with friends and family downtown without going through security. So the big part of this was that you don't have to have a badge to get a cup of coffee with your friends. And it, again, back to sort of security, it can be a challenge. And then the last photo, as I have a minute left, our exchange project. It's our new conference suite downtown as well. So real departures from what we've been doing in the past, and really excited to be able to bring these to life. So that's it.